All right, next, who we got, Jules? We've already talked about him a little bit. One of the greatest running backs of all time. Played for the other team that played on Thanksgiving, not America's team.
It could be America's team now.
It could be. Could
be America's team now.
Yes, up near Canada. It could be Canada's team. It could be America's upper states team. Yeah, Midwest, those type of states. So
let's get on Barry Sanders.
Let's go. Let's see what AI has to say about him. Barry Sanders, at 5'8" and weighing 200 pounds, played as a running back for the Detroit Lions. Hailing from Wichita, Kansas, Sanders burst onto the scene at Oklahoma State University, where he set multiple records and won the Heisman Trophy in 1988. Drafted third overall in 1989, he became known for his electrifying agility, elusive footwork, and explosive speed, making him one of the most thrilling players in the league's history. He surprised many by retiring at the age of 31 in 1999. Is it that big of a surprise? I mean, I retired when I was 29 years old. Like, he was in his 30s, but he must have been that good still. It surprised everybody.
I mean, to put in perspective, he won Offensive Player of the Year in 97. He retired 2 years later.
Over his career, he amassed 15,269 rushing yards and 99 touchdowns, earning 10 Pro Bowl selections, the 1997 MVP award, and a place in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Jesus.
Woo. What is the first thing that you think of when you hear the name Barry Sanders, Jules?
My childhood. If you made a crazy cutback play, or you made someone juked someone out of their jock or something, it was just like you were doing a Barry play. That's Barry Sanders made Detroit relevant and only went to the playoffs twice or three times in his career. Instantly think of the plays where he has four guys draping on him, and then he jukes two guys, and then a guy thinks he's down and thinks the play's over, and he's still running on the other side. Barry Sanders was so electric. I think Barry Sanders would he would be even crazier in this generation. That's how good he was. What do you think of when you think about Barry Sanders?
I think about Ford vehicles. I really do, man. And he was all the vehicles combined in one.
I mean, that's actually not bad.
He wasn't the size of an expedition, but he played like he was an expedition. He was like an explorer that had a V8 engine from one of the cars that from the Ford Mustang.
Yeah.
And he had monster truck tires, the big wheels, from a Ford Raptor F-150. So this guy basically could do it all out of the backfield. I mean, he could, catch a ball. Obviously, he could run. He was so elusive. He made guys fall face first. It's so, imagine that, being a defender. You're a professional defender as a linebacker or a safety, and you go to tackle somebody and you totally miss and fall directly on your face. That's what Barry Sanders did to these folks.
I want you to describe Barry Sanders as a Ford model make, color, interior, exterior, engine. Barry Sanders, what color car is he?
Barry Sanders would be the grayish color.
Why gray? Like a bullet, like a silver bullet?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, silver bullet, but loved by everyone,
Gray's loved by everyone.
It really is. You can't hate on gray.
What about what's the interior?
The interior? It'd have to be something flashy.
Why flashy?
Because he was flashy on the field.
So a red leather?
Blingy. No, it wouldn't be red. It would be blue.
Blue leather.
Detroit Lions color blue leather.
Gray and blue. Do we got a sunroof?
No sunroof.
It's a coupe.
Because we're dirty. We get down to business. We don't need a sunroof.
A V8? Is it like a
V8
Shelby
engine? And then we got Ford Raptor tires, but they're also on 22-inch rims. So we can be, run over a folk when we need to, and we can just
still get out.
Miss when we needed to.
Any race stripes?
Just one. Just one solid one that goes across.
What color is that race stripe?
That's black.
What's the license plate number?
2020, because he has 2020 vision as well out on the football field.
This Joker did have great fucking vision. He probably had the most elite vision in the history of the game. I want to see this car. We're going to have to make this car up.
Lion Prince. Oklahoma State mascot.
What is that, the guns?
Yeah.
Cowboys?
Cowboy guns. This car's badass. And I'm not even a car guy, and I just built my first car ever.
He spec these
$320,000 right there.
Could that car win the Daytona 500?
100%. It's winning the Daytona 500 year in and year out.
Every time?
Every single time.
But he didn't win a Super Bowl. What if he's just the fastest car on the block, but someone always... then
you got me here, Jules.
Then the Emmitt Smith car comes and they win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he never won a Super Bowl, so... Oh, man, you're right. He's not winning the Daytona 500. He's getting second, third place every single time.
Or he's probably crashing. Like he's winning the race by like 3 laps.
It wasn't him that lost the race. He had a bad, when you go in for the pit stop,
he
had a bad crew around him. Every time it took how long does it take in a pit stop usually in NASCAR?
I mean, we're talking standard, probably 38 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it took his team like a minute 20 every single time.
Minute 20?
He just had a bad,
bad pit crew.
Bad pit crew, bad team around him.
His measurables. Mm-hmm. This guy ran 4.3 or 44-inch vert. So Barry Sanders is dunking at 5'8" and 27 reps at the bench. One of the funniest quotes that I always think of when I think of Barry Sanders, I watched a documentary with his dad. They asked him, Mr. Sanders, who do you think the best running backs of all time? He goes, yeah, Jim Brown, myself, and then my son. He would never give his son the number 2 spot behind Jim Brown. That's crazy.
I love it.
His dad was so tough on him.
I love it. So I knew about that, actually. You told me that before we were going to talk about Barry Sanders. So what did I do? I went and called your dad.
What did he say?
Frank Edelman. Frank Nuts. The Nut House Papa. Frank himself. He ranked his, top 3 slot receivers. Number 1. This is why I love Frank. And this is when he truly loves you, Jules, because you're number 1. And I don't argue with that. Frank's on top of his game. Number 2, Wes Welker. And number 3, Dola. I don't know where he got Dola from at number 3, but you got to admit, he's loyal. He's loyal to his son, and he's loyal to his son's friends. Mm-hmm. Oh, he also ranked his top 3 tight ends as well.
Yeah, he ranked his top tight ends.
Yeah.
He goes, number 3, Mark Bavaro.
Mm-hmm.
Monster.
I would say Mark Bavaro, from just stories that I've heard from players that played against him, that he was the strongest tight end ever in history.
I've heard that too.
Yes. Like he would take defensive ends and linebackers and just lock them up right in the spot and not let them move. He was just that strong. His grip was through the roof, they said. And I'm talking like players that played against him were freaks of nature. And they said Mark Bavaro would dominate every single time.
So what if you guys grabbed each other? Who would...
Mark Bavaro would win.
I don't know, beast mode.
He's stronger than me, okay?
I don't think so. And then number 2 on my dad's list was Kelsey, and then 1, of course, was Gronk. And I
love you, Frank Nuts. You got a wonderful dad. Great dad. I like Edelnut House Papa though.
Edelnut House Papa. I like it. All right, what was Barry Sanders' best Turkey Day? He had 10 games on Turkey Day, 7-3 record, winning record. Barry Sanders loved Thanksgiving.
Second all time in rushing yards
behind
on Thanksgiving,
who?
Behind Emmitt Smith.
Behind Emmitt Smith.
He has 210 carries on Thanksgiving Day for 931 yards. He just couldn't break that 1,000-yard mark on Thanksgiving. That's tough. He should have came back just for that record.
Just for that.
There. Just to say he had over 1,000 yards on Thanksgiving.
We're talking about moments in his career, but him retiring at such a young age, and he was like, I think he was a season away from being the all-time leader at his retiring date. Mm-hmm. He was like if he would have played that last season, he would have beat the record. And he just walked away. He didn't really care about the records. He just wanted to win. I think he got beat down from losing. That he doesn't say that in any of his documentaries or all the, you watch his interviews. But I mean, if you go out for a long time and you're dominating and you're losing every year, that's got to take a toll. Mm-hmm. It shows the kind of player he was. He loved football as a game, not for an individual statistic. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's always stories of Jerry Jones 2-3 years later going to him and say, hey, man, you sure you don't want to come play for the Cowboys or something? I've heard that a couple times too.
Mm-hmm. As a player, you want to always tough it out.
Yeah.
You never want to show that you're weak. The second you show that you're weak, you're kind of beat in the NFL. You got to always, have that standard set, that bar set, that nothing's going to take you down. And the second that you let that go and you let things take you down, you're not going to be able to perform. You're going to get outworked. You're going to get ran over. The other guy's going to beat the crap out of you. So that mindset always has to be there. And if you get beat down, even though you look like the best player on the field, it's going to come back and haunt you. in the end. I've been through that situation before. I bet you've been through it at the end of your career as well, where you just kept taking beatings, injuries. You're trying to play through a knee, a forearm, whatever it is. And then finally you're like, man, I can't take this no more. And I feel like that's kind of what happened to Barry Sanders. I mean, yeah, he was the greatest of all time, one of them. He looked unbelievable out there on the field, but he was always losing, always taking a beating. You just don't know what these NFL guys are going through at all times. You really don't.
He still hasn't let anyone know why he retired. Like, he kind of has. I mean, he was 1,400 yards away from the all-time rushing record that Emmitt Smith went to then beat 3 or 4 years later, or a couple years later.
He did talk about it a little bit when he retired, that the passion wasn't there for him anymore. If you don't have that passion, which can attribute to just always getting beat down, not winning, there's no reason to be out there on the football field. It's not good for the fans. It's not good for yourself. It's not good for the organization. He's just kind of basically said there was nothing left to really play for. And he didn't really see the Detroit Lions being a Super Bowl contender either.
Yeah.
And if the Lions were truly going to be a Super Bowl contender, I feel like that would have gave him the passion, the influence that he
100%.
needed to go back out there. And because that's all he truly doesn't have is a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah. Do you remember when the passion left for you?
I do. I mean, I was beat down. It was my last year. I mean, we won the Super Bowl when I was on the New England Patriots, when we beat the Rams. And I went into the playoffs knowing that I was going to retire, dude. I mean, this year, the pounding on my body, all the injuries were flaring up. I was running slow. Especially the passion definitely decreases for the game of football when you start losing your skill set.
Yeah.
Because it's not as fun anymore when you can't just run by someone or just throw someone around. It's not fun when you're the one getting thrown around and the guy's on you like white on rice when you're trying to run a route. So it was like that year, but I was just putting the team first, and I knew, I could come through in the times that I needed to come through for the team. And we ended up winning the Super Bowl, so it couldn't have worked out any better. But winning that Super Bowl, it was just kind of a relief that the game was over.
Yeah.
But I got that passion back when I took a year off, and then it kind of started fading away again. You know, my second year in Tampa, that's when I knew that it was probably, time to hang it up again.
Yeah, that's kind of how mine went down as well. When I was in practice and guys that I should be dominating were coming close to covering me, I was like, I have to work way too hard and it hurts way too much.
Yeah,
you're not doing it. We weren't winning at that time.
It sucks.
It's hard to be in pain while you're losing and have to go perform.
That's why I'm thankful for all the good times when we were in our mid-20s, Jules.
Yeah,
like when everything was just always feeling like
clicking,
like just always feeling good. Yeah. You're just activated from head to toe. Just your running form was just always on point. It was like, it was easy. You just felt like you were going through the motions, even though you were going full speed and running by people, man. Those were the days. Thankful for those days as a player.
Just young, dumb, and full of
Yes. The best days for sure.
You wake up and you can sprint 30 hundreds and
without even warming up.
Go bop someone in the one-on-ones, take it to team, come lay the wood on force down in the box. Safety.
What about Barry Sanders in college too, man? He was one of the best college football players to ever live as well.
Dude, he was fucking unreal. He won the Heisman.
Most rushing yards in a season, over 2,600 yards. I mean.
And his dad hated Oklahoma State because he was an Oklahoma Sooners fan. I'm so infatuated with that story.
That's why he'll never put his son in front of him as a running back in the NFL.
I bet it's crazy. But I think that's what drove Barry. He wanted his dad's satisfaction. Maybe his dad knew that. The dads always know us the best.
The greatest fine fuel in the tedious things, man. Like
the tedious things.
What's that word I'm looking for?
Tedious.
The tedious. The tedious things.
But I like tedious things.
I just like what I said. That's why that was on my mind. I like not gonna say the word. The first part of it only because
tedious.
We're appropriate show, but tedious is always on my mind for some reason. Tedious though is what the word I was really going for. Tedious. So the greatest do find, that motivation. For example, say if you just said something that I didn't like in the locker room that day, and I would just go out in the field and I would be like, F this guy, Jules. I'm going to make sure I'm open every single freaking play so he doesn't get a pass, so I can go back in the locker room and be like, Great day today you had, Jules. You had 0 catches. I had 10. Just because you said something that was effed up to me in the morning, that's what I'm talking about. Just finding those tedious moments makes people great. Just finding that motivation for absolutely no reason that shouldn't even be motivation, just so you can go out there and just drive yourself to another level. It's like coach saying something to you 3 days ago in a meeting that you don't like, and you're going to go out there and prove to him that he was wrong.
Barry Sanders was tedious.
Yes, he was. Hopefully, we think he was. I never met Barry before. I never talked to him about this, but we're going. I mean, he's the greatest of all time. He had to find motivation somehow every single time.
One of the great showdowns on Monday Night Football that I still remember was the Barry versus Emmett game. We haven't done it on Games with Names. Need to do it on Games with Names, but it was week 4 of the 94 season. Monday Night Football. Cowboys hosted the Lions, and Detroit went up into Cowboy land, Jerry World, old Jerry World at that time, and won 2017 in overtime. Emmett, what a fucking duel. Listen to these stat lines between the two best running backs in the league in the primes of their career. Emmitt Smith, 29 carries, 143 yards and a tug. Barry had to outduel him with 40 carries, 194 yards, and 1 touchdown. Epic battle between these freaking running backs. That was like a playoff game intensity. The closest you could get to playoff intensity, and it was because it was Emmitt Smith versus fucking Barry Sanders. It was such a crazy match. You remember that game?
Mm-hmm.
They were
really young, though.
I know. I remember that game a little bit because I was
You're a little bit older than me.
This was in 94. This was my first year of football.
Yeah, I don't remember.
This was my
I was 5 years old.
I was 8 years old.
Like, what made the Detroit Lions, like, not good during that era? Because they had Barry Sanders. What made them not good? Bad offensive line, bad coaching.
I like
not
Moore,
a good
too,
defense at all.
Did they have Moore?
What was it?
Herman Moore?
What was the reason why they weren't good, Jules?
You need a quarterback.
No quarterback?
No quarterback. And they went through a lot of coaches, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they go through a lot of coaches. I don't know.
He deserved better.
He's
deserved one of the
better.
guys that deserved better.
I mean,
we're thankful for Barry.
100%.
Everyone's thankful for Barry.
Fucking Thanksgiving episode.
But he truly deserved better.
So who's on the Mount Rushmore running back?
Oof.
4 running backs, top 4 of all time.
Ooh, man. I mean, you got to put those two in that category.
Jim Brown's got to be in there.
Jim Brown. Then I'm going to go with Adrian Peterson as my 4th.
What about Walter Payton?
I know, but
he's a little before your time.
He is before my time. Yes,
Walter Payton
I don't really know too much about Walter Payton.
Marshawn Lynch is up there.
Marshawn Lynch. I mean, but
is he great all time?
No, he's not. He's not on Mount Rushmore.
No, Mount Rushmore.
He's one of the greatest known running backs of all time.
I always
one of the best personalities of all time too.
Do you remember Bill always talking about Jim Brown and how like dominant he was?
Mm-hmm.
If we'd be talking, he'd hear us talking in the locker room about something. He goes, "Well, you guys didn't see Jim Brown. He's fucking dominant. Like he was just a man child. All old timers love Jim Brown. Like that's their guy. We didn't get to watch him in the flesh, so like you don't get to appreciate him. But you got to put him on there. I think Barry's on there.
Tomlinson,
LT.
I mean, it's hard to do a Mount Rushmore of running backs.
Marshall Faulk.
Oh man, Marshall Faulk was so good.
I'm gonna go this. My Mount Rushmore. I'm gonna go Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, Marshall Faulk. Marshall Faulk being the 4th because he's like the tweener, the new generation running back where this guy could catch 100 fucking balls and rush for 1,000 yards in the same season, which I think he did.
There was Bo Jackson, Thurman Thomas.
He didn't have enough. Thurman Thomas was a monster.
Earl Campbell.
Eric Dickerson. Slate would be mad at us because Slate's dad blocked for him.
Gal Sayers.
He didn't have a long career though.
There's so many.
Man,
it's tough to do a Mount Rushmore.
Oh yeah, Barry was behind Thurman Thomas at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State had some running backs. How about that running back room in college? Thurman Thomas, fucking Barry Sanders. They win the Natty that year? How you not win the national championship with those two guys? The saddest stat of Barry's career, though, is that he only played in 6 playoff games.
It is sad.
That's crazy.
Everyone loves Barry Sanders. Everyone wanted to see his career just keep on going.
10 minutes.
What kind of dude is Barry Sanders?
Freak. No one has ever, like, when you watch him move, no one's ever moved like Barry Sanders.
Just so elusive. And he's like a slinky out there.
He's like a little slinky.
Down the stairs, just boom, boom. And the slinky's just turning and flipping. which way and direction.
Always
and
on,
then,
always on,
and then
balance.
always lands right back on in
Its
position,
Yeah.
right on its feet at the bottom of the stairs. That's Barry Sanders for you. I mean, that's some freaky ability right there.
I bet you he was a crazy positive dude, a
Mhm.
dude's dude too.
I'm sure he was.
In the locker room, I bet you he was super. He was probably like Sweet Feet, super quiet. James White, quiet, just professional. But he's also a fucking dog. Where he didn't have an offensive line for like half his career, and he still had the numbers he had. On three, you state yours. 1, 2, 3. Dog.
Freak. Nah, he's a freak, man.
Got to go freak.
You got to go freak. His physical ability of just being able to bend the way he bends and just the vision that he has, one-on-one instinct. He was not getting tackled. People were falling head first into the ground, like I said earlier. You just never seen it. He was making people look silly. Like they didn't belong out there. It was like Pop Warner when the guy is just that much better than everyone else and just running around the field. And they could be all 11 guys in the field in front of him, and he can make all 11 miss. That's freaky instincts right there.
Yeah,
Jules.
but when you see Barry Sanders in clothes, or do you look at him and be like, man, that guy's a freak?
No, you don't. But we're categorizing freak in that way only then, is if how you see someone.
He is a one of one.
Exactly. One of ones are freaks. He was just a freak at a lower level of physical stature.
He reminds me of the little race cars on the electric tracks where he could just start, stop hella fast.
Mhm.
All right, stamp it. He's a freak.
He's a freak. Let's go.